Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with a video to do a little weekly check-in reading for the week of October 27th through November 2nd. I can't believe November is already here. I didn't get a chance to film one of these videos last week because I was actually out of state visiting some families, so I wanted to just be present and focus on that versus trying to film and upload while in a very rural area. And since we have Halloween this week, I wanted to use the Halloween Tarot, and I also have the Halloween Oracle to kind of give us a little bit of guidance as to what to expect with this week and what we can look forward to and what we need to kind of work on. So let's get started and see what's going on. All right. So what do we need to know? We have the King of Pumpkins reversed. All right, what do we need to do as a collective? We have the Ace of Imps. All right, what do we need to release as a collective this week? We have the Knight of Bats. And then what do we need to contemplate as a collective? The Ace of Ghosts. All right. So I wonder, you know what? We'll just pull everything that we want, that we need, and that what is some just collective general advice for this week for everybody? So we have Winter, the sacredness of pausing. And I feel like I want to pull another one. What do y'all think? All right, and then we have Skeleton, strength. All right, so let's see what we got going on with this week's reading. All right, so the very first card I pulled is going to be the King of Pumpkins reverse, and this is what we need to know, right? The King of Pumpkins to me is essentially, this is the King of Pentacles, right? So this is very much about maybe we've been too focused on career, material, the earthly, the physical, maybe even just too focused on ourselves in the physical sense. Like maybe we've been worried about, what we've been doing for our health, what we're doing for ourselves. And I think that this is almost saying like what we need to know is that maybe taking some time out to kind of look at what that means for us internally versus what that means externally, especially when it comes to themes such as like finances, career, our work. Maybe we feel like we've been putting in a lot of efforts and not really seeing a lot of rewards when it comes to certain goals that we've kind of set out for ourselves. And I know for a lot of us towards the end of the year, we start to kind of measure, what have I done? What have I accomplished? What have I completed? And I think fall is a perfect time for us to kind of reassess what we've been doing, what needs to change, what, we will try to do in the upcoming year, and trying to kind of prepare for the end of this season, so to speak. And I think the King of Pumpkins reverse here is kind of saying maybe we haven't taken some time out to kind of honor our sovereignty, to kind of really understand how much we've actually accomplished, how much we've actually, overcome, and what we focus on. So Pentacles energy can be a little bit slower. It can feel very much like boring grown-up shit. So it can feel a little bit like I haven't really done anything that I wanted to do. I haven't really done things that, have made me feel like I'm happy with what's going on in my life. And I think with the King of Pumpkins reverse, it's very much giving this sort of energy that maybe we need to take some time out to look at, where do we feel empowered with the physical choices that we are making in our day-to-day lives. One of the things I've been trying to focus on a little bit more in the last couple of weeks is to add in more joy, add in time to play, add in time to enjoy myself, whatever it may be, whether it's something very simple, whether it's making time to say, okay, I really love, just taking some time out to read, taking some time out to watch a movie, taking some time out to maybe enjoy the weather outside, whatever it may be, just trying to be more intentionally focused on that sort of energy instead of all of the tasks and responsibilities that I constantly feel like I should be attending to and focusing on. So I think the King of Pumpkins reverse here as the very first card, as far as like what we need to know, is that maybe we've been a little too, focused on the physical life, maybe too focused on work and career and finances, and not really intentional about what that feels like for us in our bodies, what that feels like for us with, what we feel is sovereign in our lives. And so I think that maybe it's just a reminder to take some time out to kind of connect with your physical self, to kind of figure out, what is all of this hard work worth to you at this time? And what is it that you're actually co-creating as you move forward? Now, moving on, we have the Ace of Imps in the what we need to do. Now, this is the Ace of Wands. So I think that, again, this is a card of like new vitality, getting out there, really opening and being open to the possibility of new opportunities and doors kind of being presented to you at this time. So perhaps this week will bring some sort of opportunity that will present itself to you. So maybe it's kind of saying like, that's what you need to do, is start walking through those doors. The aces are, very much the beginning, and it's the start. It's the opportunity that kind of comes to you, but it is essentially saying this is in your hand. You get to do with this what you want. Wands are very much this energy of creativity and fire and a sense of, what is driving us. It's very much like momentum and movement, and it can kind of implicate even like the sense of travel. So maybe it's saying like, hey, you kind of need to get out of the house. Hey, you need to go out and do things out in the world. What is it that's lighting you up right now? What is it that's making you feel connected with what you want and what you need? So what you need to do is maybe change it up. Again, add a sense of new vitality into your life, especially if you've been feeling like it's just been so boring. I've been so focused on the routine and the schedules and the, kind of boring, adult life stuff, that I've forgotten what it's like to have a little bit of joy, to have a little bit of a positive expectancy as far as like what comes next and what I will be doing next. And I think that this even has this kind of Sagittarian kind of energy to it. Even though I know that this week is going to be more focused on Scorpio placements, I do think that we are going to have Venus and Mercury moving into Sagittarius. So I think that's why we're getting a little bit of the sense of like, maybe I need to be more playful. Maybe I need to kind of get out there and, do things that feel fun to me, that feel creative and exciting, and I think that this is perfect energy as far as like what we need to do for this week, because we have Halloween, which is a fun time for a lot of people to kind of dress up, be creative, express themselves in a way that we don't usually get an opportunity to as adults in day-to-day life. So I think this is very much saying, can you embrace the fun? Can you embrace the things that feel like an opportunity for you to start fresh, for an opportunity for you to kind of step into the direction of a little bit more creativity, a little bit more connection for yourself. Next to that, we have what we need to release. We have the Knight of Bats, which is essentially the Knight of Swords. And I think that this is very much kind of stating that maybe we've been too focused on going after certain things. Maybe we've been too focused on, trying to get to the bottom or the truth of things. Maybe we've been going after things in a way that is more anxious producing or anxiety driven, as well as maybe being a little bit too hyper focused on what that means as far as like our words, our communication. And maybe we're too wrapped up in what the meaning is in certain aspects and in certain situations. And I think with the Knight of Bats, especially with this being what we need to release, I think that maybe it's kind of saying like, hey, you can say your truth, but you have to kind of let it go. It's going to land how it's going to land. It's not really our business how people perceive or take what it is that we have to express and say, because those things are going to be digested completely different depending on your audience and depending on who you're speaking with and sharing with. So I think with the Knight of Bats is that maybe it's kind of saying like, we don't always have to be so hard pressed to say everybody else has to look at things my way. Everybody else has to understand things from my perspective and how I know them. And I think especially like here in the US, we have elections coming up. So I know the climate seems very like, you're wrong if you're not doing it the way that I'm saying. And so I think that energy is just kind of like present everywhere we go. It's like everyone's kind of on edge. And I think the swords kind of contributes to that sort of energy of being too much in your mind. Everyone's trying to say like, my truth is the truth. And, you know, I feel like I need to kind of go after what I'm saying, and I'm willing to fight for this or whatever, because that's what the knights do, you know, and they are very much messages that kind of come through. And I think with this saying, like, what we need to release is that maybe sometimes the message isn't always exactly what we needed to hear or how we wanted things to kind of come through, but maybe there is a message in the lack of a message, or maybe there is a message in the sense of, you know, maybe we're not receiving the guidance the way that we had anticipated or the way that we had wanted, but there is an opportunity for us to kind of focus on, you know, what is it that maybe we've been hanging on to, especially when it comes to like people's words, what they're communicating, what they're saying, and how can we kind of surrender that idea that it has to look a certain way or it has to be a certain way. So I think with what we need to release, it's very much saying like, maybe we have to understand that all truths aren't going to be exactly what we anticipate. And our truth is not always the truth of someone else in the exact same situation. So maybe we just need to be a little bit more explicitly mindful of where those anxious thoughts are coming from, where we feel like our truth is maybe not being, you know, considered and things like that. I think it's more of just kind of saying like, make sure that you're just not playing in your mind with certain things, and we need to kind of surrender and release those things. And as far as what we need to contemplate, we have the Ace of Ghost or the Ace of Cups. Now this is very much a card of like opportunities. Again, another wands, right? This is something being kind of brought to you. It's in your hand. So this is a new opportunity or a door opening to the possibility of you really moving into something that feels a little bit more intuitively connected, that feels more like at home for you in some ways, whether it's you really connecting to how you feel. Maybe you need to kind of consider what it is and contemplate, you know, how do I really feel about the situation? How do I really feel about these things? Is it just because it's an opportunity that I'm like, this is what I want and this is what I need? Sometimes we look at opportunities and we see a lot of the potential in it, but that doesn't always mean that that's how things are going to, how things are going to shape out, you know, or how things are going to, you know, be whenever we're in that situation. And I think the Ace of Ghosts is kind of here to say, we may come into something with a lot of intention of it being exactly how we would like for it to. And I think that sometimes with cups, there's a little bit of this idealization or even just a sense of not really seeing things quite so clearly. And I think with the Ace of Ghosts, it's that same sort of energy, is that maybe we're kind of relying too heavily on the energy of the past to kind of inform us moving forward. So I think with this, what we need to contemplate is, are all of the opportunities really something that will be beneficial for us? Are they really going to bring us the desired outcome? Because I feel like cups can also give us this opportunity to look at like our wishes, our feelings, our intuition, our connections, our relationships. And so maybe we need to contemplate some of those aspects in our lives, you know? How are our relationships? How are our connections? How do we really feel about the things that are, you know, kind of going on around us? Have we taken a time out to really consider where these opportunities are leading us, and what sort of relationships and connections do we have at the present moment, and what does that mean for us moving forward? So I think this week will maybe be filled with a lot of this sense of connection back to what drives us, what we feel that we need, while understanding that maybe we need to take some more action versus just waiting for something to happen. But we also need to contemplate, are we connected to how we really truly feel about things? Because sometimes we have this energy of, I need to act and just kind of get out there. And maybe we need to release just being like, I'm going to commit to things mentally before I really understand how I really feel about things. So those are the tarot cards that I pulled. Let's talk about these oracle cards. Now, the first one I got is going to be winter. This is the sacredness of pausing. And I think that this really encapsulates the energy that we kind of talked about here, where it's really saying that maybe we need to not be in such a rush into the next thing. We need to not feel like I need to hurry up and do things. Now, I'm sure if you've been on the internet and you are in the spiritual realm, you've heard about Pluto being in Capricorn. It is finishing its 16-year transit. I think we have until November 19th before we will never see Pluto in Capricorn again, as long as we are alive this lifetime. And I think a lot of us have this sense of like, I need to hurry up and tie up all these ends, and I have all this karma and blah, 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 and all these things that people are using. And I'm not saying this to say like to fear monger and to create chaos. I think that some people do have the good intention, and maybe they don't really understand the power of their words by saying certain things. But I think with Pluto in Capricorn, it is very much kind of saying like what needs to shift, because Pluto is transformational and Capricorn is restrictive, cold, kind of like, earth energy that is kind of saying like what needs to change in your day-to-day life. Like, what have you been working towards? And is that really what is still driving you? We change every year. And if some of us have been kind of living the same life for about 16 years, it's going to feel very much like, what am I doing with my life? Like, where am I headed? Where is this leading me? And I think with winter, it's almost saying like, this is almost a reminder to just take some time out to pause and say, okay, I don't have to have my hands on every pot. I don't need to be spinning all of the plates. I don't always need to be going. And I have an opportunity to kind of look at, what has shifted, what has changed, what needs to shift, what needs to change, who am I, and how have I changed as well? Because I think a lot of us don't really take that time out to honor the actual changes that we've had as individuals in this like life and what that means overall. I mean, I can just say for myself, I've changed a lot over the last 16 years. And that's just what it is. All right. And then finally, we have skeleton, which is all about strength. And when we think of a skeleton, I mean, it's essentially our foundational base that allows us to have structure. And again, I think that this is very much that kind of Plutonian, Capricornian energy. It's, Capricorn rules over our bones. And so it is very much of this like sort of energy of like, okay, what is our structure? What is our foundation? What is it that is, really driving what makes us feel strong in so many different ways? I think that a lot of us have kind of forgotten what our strength is because we're either worn down, we're beaten down, we feel very alarmed by how life is shaping out or the things that have been happening. And so it's very easy for us to kind of distracted and forget how powerful we truly are, myself included. I've been currently in a transitional period in my life, and it's been a little bit challenging, and I'm having to kind of remember my own personal strength and trying to reconnect with what that means for me. And that's why the sacredness of pausing has been significant, as well as understanding my strength. By taking some time out to pause, I can remember who I am, what I need, what I have, and what really truly matters in the situation. So that's what I think we can expect this week. Let me know what you guys think about these. I really appreciate you watching. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.